Right then, hello, good evening and welcome. My name is Paul, I'm also called Knick-Knack. I'm the brains behind Knick-Knack's Daily Teaser, which is a fun daily brain teaser quiz. I also do a lot of movie reviews, and one of these days I'm going to watch another film. I really should. I also talk about TV shows I've watched. I'm sitting here on a hot-ish summer night listening to trains go past, having last night seen episode 9 of Series 2 For All Mankind. I wanted to talk to you about it, but let me tell you something else. First, click on that eye if you want to see more of my stuff. B, let's talk about episode 9. Let's talk about Triage. Episode 9 of Series 2, Triage, starts with literal triaging, with the Jamestown doctor, with the doctor on the Jamestown American lunar base trying to revive a shot Russian cosmonaut, with one of the American Marines, Webster, Michaela Conlon, admitting she shot the cosmonauts when they went for what she thought was a gun. Back at Houston, Ellen, Margot, and General Nelson, Jodie Balfour, Ren Schmidt, and John Marshall Jones are receiving reports of the situation from the commander of the base and discussing exactly how bad the situation is. The general, of course, compares potentially starting World War III, making the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand look like a car crash by comparison. Post-titles, we see the Russian ambassador to the UN condemning the incident in no uncertain terms. Condemning the incident and the nuclear missiles the USA is seemingly going to be sending to Jamestown base on the next Sea Dragon launch. As a result of all of that, General Nelson tells Ellen and Margot he's authorising company for the Sea Dragon flight. Sea Dragon 17 is going to be joined by an armed Pathfinder 1. Ed, the pilot of Pathfinder 1, doesn't just have this on his plate. Oh no. His wife Karen has told him she's had an affair and wants marriage counselling. So appreciably the fact that he's possibly taking nuclear missiles to the moon sort of isn't the first thing on his mind. All of this while, Gordo and Tracy seem to be reconciling, and Larry, Ellen's husband, has just had a visit from a very senior Republican indeed, one who thinks Ellen would be a good president and thinks she'd also be a shoo-in at the upcoming elections. Meanwhile, and after the Jamestown crew have let in 2 Russian crewmen to take their dead colleague home and make sure the living one is being treated well, the episode ends with crewman Pomeranz spotting a lone Russian outside the base. A lone Russian with a gun, 3 bullets, very good aim, and the intention to give Jamestown a very bad morning. Now, what am I thinking? What am I thinking of both the episode and the series so far? It's the penultimate episode, don't forget. I have to admit, at this stage of Westworld's second season, and I've not seen any of it since, I should add, I was feeling impressed with the show. I was feeling impressed with Westworld. Looking back, possibly I maybe shouldn't have been. I've not been impressed enough to keep watching Westworld. Season 2 was famously hard to follow, so it's not something I've gone back to. On the other hand, I was far more impressed with the last 2 episodes of Season 2 of The Man with a High Castle. And Man with a High Castle is the possibly A, the go-to alternative history, and B, the series that I think For All Mankind compares well to. They're both Cold War dramas, effectively. They're neither of them our Cold War, and they're both very good. granted, For All Mankind has slightly soapier elements than Man in a High Castle did, and granted, For All Mankind doesn't have Übergriffen Führer Smith, the Rufus Sewell character. But I don't think the latter needs it. This episode as well, there's a couple of the soapy bits, the soap opera elements I'm not necessarily fond of, the following people's love lives, but it does give you extra bits of backstory and motivation for what the characters are doing. Give you an example there, we see the Jodie Balfour character, Ellen, her girlfriend Lisa, after overhearing the conversation about being nominated for president, she suddenly thinks, well, and this is an alternate version of the 80s where being gay, much like the real 80s, was being discussed, but it still wasn't necessarily seen as acceptable in the same way that it might be now. So she leaves her. So those soapy elements aren't necessarily something I'm keen with, but I can see them working. I can see why they're there, and they work well. Personally, I was more impressed with the somewhat more Cold War drama elements of the show. And frankly, that's what's making for a pivotal and riveting watch. Tonight's episode ends with a big climax, ends with a window on the moon getting shot out, with all that implies. And it's actually put me in mind of an old Doctor Who episode called The Moon Base. It's which was quite possibly the best base under siege story in Doctor Who's history. And this compares quite favourably to that. The bit that got me thinking of it was the glass getting shot out. There's a scene in the moon base where the base gets depressurised in a similar sort of way, and you see Cybermen clamouring around like invading Russian cosmonauts. I'm put in mind of that. Either way, this episode has ratcheted up the tension, and it's making Cybermen jealous as well with a successful moon-base invasion. Frankly, I've seen a, if not a perfect penultimate episode, then certainly a bloody good one. Frankly, I'm going to be watching on Tuesday the 8th, and I'm going to be doing my usual write-up of the last episode on Wednesday the 9th, as well as doing my YouTube video about it. I hope you care to join me. I hope you care to at least leave a comment or two, either on the blog or on the video. I'll see you next weekend, or see you next week. Hopefully, we'll get something done. Take care. Have a good evening.